Everyone, Pastor Chuck Blair here. Great to have you joining me this morning on this beautiful fall day as we continue looking at kind of noises in the storm. That was the thing the past couple of days have been about. And yesterday we looked at guilt and shame and how those can come out of hell and feel like hell and literally can get us entrapped in just this constant perseveration around all the areas where we've made different mistakes in our lives. And we all have those. We all have those areas. That is part of life. It's part of the noise of the storm. And we're looking at this idea of Noah and the ark, the idea that Noah's protected, but there's a lot of noise. And I want to stress that protected and a lot of noise. And today, what we're looking at is kind of noise part two. And this is this idea, as I titled it, when good gets the better of us, when good gets the better of us. So a couple of things end up creating a lot of noise in our head. And one is, again, like, hell, and just how hell can kind of get this feeling going around guilt and shame, guilt and shame, guilt and shame, and can get us paralyzed that way. And another way, and maybe it works a little bit opposite. Instead of paralyzing us, it can get us to be too active, which is this other kind of temptation, which is to take good too far. Now, what does that mean? I mean, it's interesting, right? As a pastor and as wonderful people, that all of you are, isn't the whole point to be good? And yes, the whole point is to be good. And at the same time, we have to be really careful we don't take that too far. In other words, we have to be careful we don't weaponize good. Now, how is it that we're asked to think about this? Well, Emanuel Swedenborg offers us, hey, just think about it this way. And what he said, and it's an interesting perspective, is he said, the forces, the darkness in our lives, it attacks us with our own longings. And these are good longings, longings for connection, longings for home, longings to have a relationship, longings to have this. So you have this longing that's actually a good longing. It's a good thing. And one of the challenges is, and it creates a lot of noise in storms, is we can take that and then take it too far. So what would be examples of that? Well, a couple come to mind. One is, imagine you have this deep longing to be part of, fill in the blank. And you can see where that can be a really positive thing. And then a storm hits, and all of a sudden this longing grows, and we just take it too far. We just go way out of bounds with this desire to belong, and that can lead us to make some really bad decisions. Really bad decisions in a lot of ways. I mean, I'm thinking of Pinocchio, his whole falling out with all the bad folks in that, and that's desire for belonging, and we'll just try to find it wherever we can because that desire is so great. And in a storm, we want that more than anything else. Another one is sort of righteousness. It's easy in times of storm, times where it's like there's just a lot going on, to become, frankly, a scold, to become someone where you hold that you actually know what's right for everyone else. And that may actually come from a good motivation. It may come from a motivation that really does see something clearly, or really does see a moral, I don't want to say conundrum, but can see a moral factor there that other people may be blind to. But boy, when we take that too far, holy cow. Just think of that, folks. When we're around someone who is like that, when you are around someone who's like that, what's your reaction to them when they're that way? Well, if I'm around somebody who's a scold, somebody who really thinks they know the whole way to do it, I back way away. I just, sort of take my toys and go home. I'm not interested in that kind of relationship. And I don't think very many people are. And there's no doubt in times where I've been on the opposite side of that, where I've been in a storm and I've been a scold. I kind of felt wrongly that, mistakenly, that I had it somehow figured out and could let everyone else know how to do their thing. Because, folks, we just never know. So what do we do? Like, how do we face that temptation? Well, obviously, step number one is we don't get rid of this desire to be good. It's go back to what that longing is and just honor that. Like, here it is, and it was misexpressed, or it came out sideways. I always like that phrase, came out sideways, or it came out sideways, or it was just taken too far. And can we just kind of backpedal and go like, okay, I get that. And I can honor that it really did come from a good intention. And that's what God cares about, is our intentions, right? So I can get that it comes from good intention. And I think the best fighting of this one actually is just simple quiet. Just simple quiet. And when we feel that urge, right? That urge, a simple prayer is like, God, if I'm supposed to do something here, give me both the words and the opportunity. And it's my experience is very rarely do those two things actually match up. And a lot of the time, not all the time, but a lot of time we're just simply better just staying in quiet, not allowing that goodness to go too far. And the other way I would think about fighting is like I imagine you can't do, like, I can feel it in my chest right away when I get to that point, right when I get to that righteous point, and it's like, "Mwah!" and this just this belief, and now they're finally going to get to hear what I think, and that it's somehow my job. And more I'm convinced it's not. Our job is to be loving people. And will there be times, to really be forcefully out there with the good? Yeah, but probably a lot less than a lot of us would imagine. And the best practice of the good is the practice of the good, is for us just to live that message gently as best we can. That's what we see with Jesus. That's what we see with, the gentleness of angels, the gentleness of heaven. And yeah, so it's just something to think about here, folks. When good gets the better of us, just be aware of that today, where righteousness maybe has a little hook in you, and just work as your best to just find quiet around that, and just find peace, and just be a loving person. Like, just that simple, sort of pull it in, simplicity, honor that longing in yourself where that's coming from, because it's probably coming from a pretty good place. And that's all right. We want to keep that longing. We just want to be aware that sort of expressing it in a way where we want everyone else to line up just so according to our plan. That's where it gets into our plan, not God's. So there's the thought for today, folks. A little plug for the wisdom of tenderness and the wisdom of gentleness. With that, what we're going to do now is we're going to do a little meditation, a little prayer, a little blessing, and we'll say hi to folks on social media. So we're going to ring a little prayer bell first. And what we ask you to do is just get a big breath, and then what we're going to do is just listen to the bell. Just allow yourself to calm. Then we'll go through our meditation and our prayer and our blessing. So listen to the prayer bell. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am. Be still and know that I. Be still and know that. Be still and know. Be still and. Be still. Be. Our Father, who art in the heavens, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, as in heaven, so upon the earth. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we also forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you, bring you peace, and bring you home. Amen. All right, dear friends, let's give a little cheery hello to those who are joining us on this fine fall day. And again, I hope all you're doing really well. All righty. Mary Ann writes, good morning, everyone, and good morning to you, Mary Ann. And yeah, tell Bill, thanks for that flyer. I really enjoyed that. I might actually do that. Mary Ann writes as well, too much of anything is not too good. It is interesting. In the Socrates had this, I think it was Socrates, talked about the golden mean, that there's always this balance. And I think that's what God is wanting us to be in, is this very balanced middle place, which is beautiful. Patricia, great to see you joining us this morning as well. Paige writes, trite but true, better to be kind than right. It really is interesting. And it is trite, right? But boy, we keep gotta coming back to that wisdom of tenderness. And just I think hell tells us that's not power. And it really is. I mean, when you're saying that, Paige, I'm thinking how many people I know who are really kind, but actually, boy, can they run a room. It's really something else. Gene writes, gentleness goes a long way. That's very well said, Gene. Marcus, good morning to you, brother. I hope you're doing well there. And Mary writes, intention. Our energy speaks even before we open our mouths. And I just was having that conversation with my mom this morning, just about, in the challenges of life. So much of it's getting clean and clear about what's the energy. Again, the outside presentation, the words, they may actually be identical, one part coming from positive energy, one part coming from negative energy. They may be the same, but their impact will be totally different. Just think of the most loving person saying something hard to you. Well, that's going to be much more received than the person who's, the biggest jerk in your life saying it. It'll be just a very different thing. All right, dear friends. Well, thank you very much for joining me. Always great to have you, and always great to be joining folks from all over in this beautiful little morning meditation that we share together. So God bless. Have a great day. Take care.